Yo, what's up, guys? Figured we could do a quick little live stream, try to find some bets. Found some pretty good ones earlier, and hopefully, you find this video helpful. The goal of these videos, obviously, give out profitable picks. Also, kind of to explain, sharp sports betting strategy, how to make money, all that type of good stuff. So some of the plays we hit earlier, for example, on Underdog Fantasy, I've been firing off bets like crazy. But as if you take a look at this player, right, 9, so you can see all the books are moving as line, 18.5 to 16.5. Pretty crazy line movements. But PrizePicks had his line at 18.5. Underdog Fantasy had his line at 13, right? Like, imagine seeing that in the NBA, 13 points, 18.5 points. It's not going to happen. It only really happens in esports because, again, there's so many games. I mean, there's literally always thousands of odds on each platform, maybe even tens of thousands on each platform, and they can't keep their lines in check, right? So as sharp bettors, like I personally don't really care what I'm betting on. The NFL is more popular, but there's way less games, so it's harder to find value. So why don't we start out here just because this play is incredibly good. We'll start out with Braxton Guerin over 5.5 strikeouts. So this plays on Fliff. And again, you may use different sports books. Fliff is available in basically every single U.S. state. So if you don't have it, I definitely recommend getting it. I've included all my refer a friend codes below for, some of the main sports books. So what we can do is we can go here to the Rockies game. And unfortunately, it's just not something you'll see it tracked on my, bet tracker. If you follow me on my bet tracker, my Pickett profile, but you're going to see here, right? You can't pull it up on your computer, which is a little annoying. So the entire point, so I'm trying to lock this in quick, $250 I just hit it for. If you don't believe me, whatever, I just showed you. So what's really powerful about sports betting, and I say this in every video, and it's what motivated me to take forever to learn about sports betting, really dig into how people actually made money consistently, is your returns are daily, right? This game is today. So if you could have a 1% ROI on your bets, in general, there may be some games you're betting on for tomorrow or in the NFL a few days away, but in general, you're betting on games that are that day, right? So if you could get, this play has a 4.81% profit margin, but if you could get just a 1% ROI, that's 30% over the course of a month, right? People always talk about, the stock market, 8% a year. If you can get 1% a day betting on sports, that's 30% in a month because you're betting on games that are that day. So anyways, why do we like this play? I mean, it's pretty insane value, right? It's pretty clear. And you can see Betway Sportsbook is also screwing this up if you use it. Again, you may use different sports books. I just have filtered in. I mean, there's literally hundreds of sports books here that you can bet on, but obviously, I can't bet on them all or don't bet on them all because they're not legal necessarily in my location. But you can see here, what's fascinating about, sports betting in general is the market's very fragmented. So you think about the price of a stock, Facebook is $300, right? You go to Fidelity, you go to E-Trade, you're not going to see it's 200, 250, 400. The stock market, there's basically one price, maybe some different fees on different platforms. But what's crazy about sports betting is this is the exact same bet, right? It's like two identical houses side to side, and there's massive price differences, 167,000 and 110,000, right? So it's like having hundreds of different prices of a stock, which is crazy. So as sharp bettors, we just follow the data. Again, no offense, you're probably a really smart person. But nobody, if you're trying to create your own model to beat FanDuel, FanDuel's $1 billion company with hundreds of employees, hundreds of engineers, more resources, better data feeds than you. You're never just going to be able to out-model the sports books unless you're have a team of PhDs, right? The way you beat the sports books is you find value in the market. You find these big discrepancies. They all set lines independently. So essentially, we're just hunting through, these thousands of esports lines, looking for those few rare betting opportunities where sportsbooks are screwing up. right? Just like an investor or hedge fund looks through the market, hundreds of thousands of possible investments for those few spots of gold. And here it's like, I mean, it's clear as day, right? Fliff is the only sports book that has Braxton's under favored. Every other sports book has the over heavily favored, right? You can pull up like line movement charts if you want to look at what sports books are doing. But like all these books, even if you don't bet on FanDuel, it's a data point on where the line should be set, right? So like, you know, you can see here, Bet Online. Bet Online is known to be a very sharp, a very smart sports book. They have this at minus 167, and they've been ripping odds towards his over, right? So lines are always moving, just like the price of a stock. New economic news comes out, stock price changes, like, you know, weather changes, lineup changes, all these things move around odds. You can see Bet Online has ripped odds in favor of his under. It used to be minus 133 about an hour ago. They've ripped it down to minus 167. So his over's a lot more favored now on Bet Online, and getting minus 110 on Garrett is a crazy bet from the positive EV tool. We'll flip over to PrizePicks here in a second. But again, like, you may use different sports books, whatever. Like, there are some really good bets on FanDuel. I'm not in a location where I can bet on FanDuel, but I mean, like, Torkelson over 1.5 hits, you're getting at plus 250 on FanDuel. Other books have it around plus 200. You're getting, you know, a 25% increase in the odds. Crazy value, no-brainer play. You know, this is how you make money, right? And we have a bunch of videos about, you know, if you want to learn how to calculate your profit margin, no vig odds, right? If you want to get deep into the weeds, I mean, I've probably done thousands of videos breaking down how you can make thousands of dollars sports betting. So, you know, feel free to look at them. But I'm going to try to just hit bets and not, you know, keep it super, you know, keep it moving along. So what we can do is we can go to another sports book. I mean, I say this all the time, the more books you have, the better. So this sports book, and again, all my refer a friend codes helps me out are in the description. So you can see like this play, right? Like, this sports book is very unique for one reason. They run these promos. You can see here, they're increasing the odds on Brianna Store assists, right, to plus 118. So now it just moved. So basically, they run these odds boosts every single hour where they give you crazy value. So Brianna Store over 3.5 assists is plus 118 on Hot Streak. FanDuel has it minus 120. Bovada has it minus 120. I mean, right? Like, they're literally telling you when you go to this sports book. So they run these odds boosts every hour, but you can only bet $10 per hour. So obviously what they're trying to do is like get people addicted to coming back to their platform. It's only $10 max bet size. But, you know, I've been locking these in like crazy, and they have a $200 deposit match as well, which is, you know, obviously pretty good. Deposit 200, you get 200 for free. That's why I signed up for the sports book. But what we can do is just like, you know, find a play to pair this with. So we can kind of, you know, I try to move quickly, but you can't include two odds boosts in the same slip. So I try to find a play that's, you know, not an odds boost that I can include in my slip. So this play I'm not going to be able to include. It's also an odds boost because on this Hot Streak platform, you need at least 2 bets to, you know, place your entry or whatever. So I'm just, you know, trying to find another play. It's only a $10 max bet size. But again, like, $10 max bet size, insanely profitable play. They run odds boosts every hour. If you just remember to bet a few of them, I mean, you're going to make a fair amount of money just doing that, just taking advantage of these promos. So we'll go to Garcia doubles at, it looks like they have it plus 400. It looks like they maybe moved it down a bit. So we can just refresh this. Trying to move kind of quick, but whatever. Paul DeJong doubles. Does this work at plus 485? Plus 485. So we'll go here. So for some reason, they list their odds in decimal format, which is a little confusing, but OddsJam just converts it, you know, on the fantasy optimizer, it just converts it to American odds. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll place this little entry. And again, you can use my refer a friend code Alex is all I've been doing, you know, on this platform. So you can see right here are my plays. And basically, like, I think I deposited 500 or 1,000 to start. I signed up like a month ago. already up a fair amount of money. And basically most of the plays I'm betting are just these $10 odds boosts, right? It's pretty hard to find value on this platform aside from the odds boost, but they run these odds boosts every hour. OddsJam picks them up. Then I just hit the bet and, have made over $500 on this sports book at the minimum, maybe over $1,000. So long story short, we'll go back here. We'll go to the EV tool and we can see if there's any plays. And again, I know a lot of people use FanDuel, use DraftKings, use Caesars, but these aren't books, currently in my location. So I'll give you some good plays that I think are good, right? Vladdy over 1.5 hits. There are definitely some good plays. You can kind of play with your settings. I typically recommend set this kind of wherever you want, but probably not above 300 or something, maybe around 50, 70, 100, whatever. And it kind of helps you filter down the plays, right? So let's go back to Underdog Fantasy. Why don't we start on Underdog? So we can start here. And what we can do is we can take a look at some of these plays, right? So again, all the software is doing is pointing out line discrepancies, value in the market, right? So this guy, so someday you may not know anything about him, or you may. His line is 1.5 on Underdog Fantasy. It's okay, cool. You go to PrizePicks, his line's at 2, right? So we found a discrepancy. Okay, that's pretty cool. But what kind of stinks about esports is not a lot of books post lines, right? Like FanDuel, DraftKings, there's no lines. And you may be like, who cares? I only use PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy. But again, the point is the more books you're viewing odds from, the more confidence you have that a bet is good. So as an example, this play on Spencer Torkelson, right? Or what's another good example? What we can do is we can also just lower this to, you can play around with these settings, stuff like that. But take a look at this play on Lewis, Ariz, or what's a good one? Zach Elfin over 5.5 strikeouts. Maybe you want to bet this on FanDuel. FanDuel is pricing this at plus 142, right? FanDuel Ontario, I guess in Canada, they're slightly different odds. I guess it's legal in Canada. But you can see, so the only sports book offering above plus 125 appears to be Tipico. All these other books are plus 125, right? So it's if there were a bunch of different, it's like if you went to Fidelity or something like that, and they had the price of a stock, way different than E-Trade and stuff like that, you would know that's a pretty good opportunity. But anyways, I'm fumbling around. Where did that bet go? So let's go back here. Let's refresh. I got to filter FanDuel back in. So, man, let's go back here. But you get the point. In sports betting, there's tons of books posting odds. So it's usually pretty clear which side is a good bet. So let's go back here. And then let's, you can kind of switch your states around to see different sports books, stuff like that. So if I just go here and I set this at 50, this is just for the case of example, right? Where was that play? So Zach Elfin over 5.5 strikeouts, right? You have one sports book, sophisticated book, invested a lot of money in their models. They're pricing this at plus 121. Bet99, another sports book, plus 122. Bet Online, a really smart, sharp sports book, plus 122. Betway, again, slightly different odds from state to state, which OddsJam kind of covers. But you can see, you look at all these books, Caesars, plus 115. And it becomes pretty clear, okay, FanDuel's screwing up big time. This is a big discrepancy. So OddsJam is pointing that out to you. And there's a ton of books posting lines. So it's clear that FanDuel is the side, that's screwing up. However, in esports, right, there's only a couple, maybe 3, oftentimes 3 sports books that are posting lines. So, when it's just PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy, you don't necessarily know who's screwing up. So you can see here, for this play on 9, PrizePicks, we got his line under 18.5. Only PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy were posting lines. So if we go here to Dota, right, PrizePicks now lowered his line to 16.5, right? So PrizePicks realized, they were screwing up. They lowered him by 2 points. If you look at Underdog Fantasy, they brought his line now to 15 when initially they had it at 13, right? So both these sports books, the opportunity's kind of gone away. So what I did was I middle bet this, right? Maybe they were both a little off, right? Underdog Fantasy too low, PrizePicks too high. But I mean, obviously this is a crazy discrepancy. And this strategy is called middle betting. And it's pretty simple, right? If this player 9, if he has, 18 to 13 kills, we win both bets. Or I guess if he has 13 exactly, we'll push on Underdog Fantasy. So this play will be a tie, and then it will become a 2-pick parlay. But regardless, what I can do is I can refresh Underdog Fantasy, and we can look for a play. So check out this play on Jensen, right? Did I already bet this? No, I didn't. So it's pretty simple strategy, right? Like, I don't care if you watch esports, if you think you're really good at, modeling, stuff like that. I mean, that's what 99.9% of sports bettors think, is I can create my own model that's better or whatever, right? I can create this perfect thing that predicts the future and which teams are going to win. And it's just, I mean, it's not going to happen, right? So if you take a look at Jensen, right, like, I'm not going to create a better model that tells me what Jensen's projected line should be, right? And what the odds should be, right? What's the probability of him going over and under? But what I can see is PrizePicks, which is one of probably the biggest sports book out there, right? They're pricing his line at 3, right? ParlayPlay agrees with PrizePicks and has the line at 3, right? Underdog Fantasy's at 2.5. So I'm not going to be able to outsmart Underdog Fantasy on my own, but OddsJam is scanning these thousands of esports lines, to point out value to you. So what we can do is hit this over, right? So that's the first play we want to go with. ParlayPlay has the line at 3. PrizePicks has the line at 3. Underdog Fantasy is too low, so we want to take the over. Pretty good stuff. So we got our first play in. So we can kind of, we can refresh this and we can see if there's any other plays that we want to go with. So here's another one. Double lift under 3.5, right? Underdog Fantasy has his line at 3.5. ParlayPlay has his line at 3, right? So PrizePicks has his line at 3. I mean, the strategy is pretty simple, right? You follow the data and you look for inefficiencies, value in the market, right? We're not going to win every bet, but we'll win long-term type of thing. And then we can see Tomo over 3 or Blabber over 3. So we can take Tomo over 3. So unfortunately, they're not going to let me bet players from the same team. You can see in esports on Underdog Fantasy, because if one player goes over, then the other one's a lot more likely to go over. So they're not going to let me bet that one. So what I can do is I can take this play on Blabber, and I want to take his over. So now we have 3 different games, so we're not going to run into that issue. Did I already bet this play on Blabber? No, I didn't. Okay, perfect. So this works out perfectly. And then, I have my play on Underdog Fantasy, and I can go ahead and lock it in for $100. So if anyone wanted to tail it, hopefully, you were able to get this in. So there we go. And that will be, whatever, our first play from this live stream, not on Fliff, but on Underdog Fantasy. So again, some of these other plays, like this play on Brile, right? Underdog Fantasy is too high, PrizePicks is too low. It's not really clear who's screwing up, but it's a big discrepancy, right? You'd never see, in the NBA, Anthony Davis's rebound line at 11 on PrizePicks, 12.5 on Underdog. You're not going to see that big of discrepancies. So again, it's pretty simple. Like, everyone loves the NFL, I get it. But in terms of sports betting, when there's a ton of games, right? A ton of games, and there's going to be more opportunity, especially in esports where, like, the markets are pretty inefficient. They're fragmented. There's huge discrepancies between books. If you know what you're doing as a sharp bettor and following the data, that means it can be really profitable, even if it's like, whatever, not your favorite sport to watch. So again, we locked in our hourly odds boost on Hot Streak. So it's like, okay, cool. So what we can do is we can check out, whatever, Underdog Fantasy, all these kind of different platforms and maybe find some value. So we can check out ParlayPlay. Again, the more books you have, the better. Like, some of these plays I think I've already given out already, but pretty simple. But like, the more sports books you have, the better. I mean, just because you never know which book is going to screw up on a given day, Hot Streak has really good promos, right? They run these promos pretty consistently. So the more books you have, more profitable betting opportunities, more promos, more deposit bonuses, stuff like that. So what I can do is I can just take a look, see if there's anything new that kind of jumps out, because I bet a lot of these, maybe not completely. So then we can go over to PrizePicks. We can refresh this. But I kind of just when I'm in Virginia, where I'm from, I'll, use FanDuel. I'll place a lot of these bets on FanDuel. But basically, I'm just scanning. So this play is probably the best play on FanDuel if you want to bet on FanDuel. Really high profit margin too, 6.6%. So if you put $100 on it, 6.6% edge or profit margin, your profit margin in dollars is $660. The bet's not guaranteed to win, but just like people are like, oh, the ROI, the return on the stock market's roughly 8% a year. Some years it goes down, some years it goes up. But, over the past, 150 years, whatever, it's been roughly 8%. So every year, you would have made 8% on your money. It's kind of the same thing here, right? So you hit a bunch of positive EV bets around 2%. Your ROI over the course of a month, if you're betting every day, that's the thing. You have to put in the work. You have to bet every day, right? If your ROI is 2% and you bet every day, then over the course of a month, your ROI is 60%. If you only bet one day, right, your ROI is 2% in that month. So you got to be placing bets. But anyways, what's up, guys? So what we can do is, pull up PrizePicks, waiting for this to load. We can see if there's anything that kind of jumps out and hopefully find some good plays. So as a recap, looks like OddsJam's a little slow to load, but this was the first. Nope, that was not the first play we locked in. I think we just locked in a different pick. So I need to refresh there. This is the first play we locked in, esports. Do I love esports? Nope, not really. But, there's a lot of games, which means a lot of opportunity. So anyways, OddsJam's being a little slow to load, but I don't think there were any other crazy good plays. We got down a good esports play. I'm trying to keep these tighter, just give out some plays, kind of explain a little bit of the strategy, get moving. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll be back on live later once I figure out why the site isn't loading. And hopefully, we make some money today.